This is a granny hexagon, a very close relative of the granny square. The granny square has 4 sides and the hexagon has 6 sides. If you ever wondered how a granny hexagon is made, this is for you. Or if you like to watch people crochet, this is for you. The instructions for the hexagon are going to be based on the basic rules of a granny square. So I'm going to start by chaining 5 and slip stitching into the first chain to make a ring. Then I'm going to double check and make sure that a hexagon really does have 6 sides before I chain 3 for my first double crochet. Then I'm going to add 2 more double crochet into the ring and then chain 2 for my first corner. Now the first row of a granny square has a set of 3 double crochet for each side. So you would have 4 sets of 3 double crochet for the 4 sides. For the hexagon, you would just do that 6 times. You could technically even do it 8 times and make it an octagon. Or you could do it 7 times and make people feel awkward. It's totally up to you. I don't know what a shape would be called if it has 7 sides, but I do know it makes people uncomfortable. In case you can't tell, the instructions part for the first row is pretty much done. So if you wanted to go here, I am going to include the instructions for row 2. All you're going to do at the very end of row 1 is put a slip stitch into the top of your chain 3. But if you enjoy watching people crochet like I enjoy watching people bake or spin the clay on that little spinny table thing, I'm going to keep the rest of the video up, but it's going to have the original sound of the yarn scraping along the hook. I hope you enjoy. Happy hooking! Here is row 2 of the hexagon. I finished row 1 by slip stitching on top of the chain 3, and now I'm going to slip stitch the rest of the way until I hit my first chain 2 gap. Once I'm at the gap, or my first corner, I'm going to chain 3 again for my first stitch of round 3, and then I'm going to add 2 more double crochet for my first cluster of 3 double crochet for round 2. Then I'm going to chain 2 for the corner, and then add 3 more double crochet. Once I have that, I'm going to chain 1 and then put 3 more double crochet and then another chain 2 and then 3 more double crochet, and that'll be my second corner. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around. And that's essentially it for round 2. You're just putting a cluster of 3 double crochet and then 2 chains and then 3 more double crochet into each gap all the way around. And then when you get back to the first stitch, you're just going to slip stitch on top of that chain 3, and that'll be the end of row 2. In my last video, I talked about how you can adjust the number of corners you do to adjust the number of sides. And for this one, I want to talk about the different color options you have with this. So this is a really good project to get started with color work, if you're looking into that. Mostly because you can make some really awesome designs with it. And I'm a firm believer that when you're starting a new skill, it needs to be something simple enough so you can finish it, because that sense of accomplishment is going to motivate you to keep going. But with that said, the most common thing that I've seen with granny squares that are more than 4 sides is a sunflower. And then the second row or third row, you can change to a yellow or a burnt orange or whatever you like. I've also seen it done with daisies, which I think is really cute. But you use a yellow color on the inside, and then for the second row you would use a white color or for the rest of it. And then once you sew all those little squares together, you get this really, really cool looking blanket that looks like a draped flower blanket. And then from there, I'm going to make some videos on how to turn your circle, because we've been working in the round, how to turn your circle into a tube. But for now, this is it. And if you want to stick around and watch the rest of the video, you're very welcome to. If not, you can go ahead and go to the comments for row 3. This is row 3 of the granny hexagon. I finished row 2 by slip stitching to the top of the chain 3, and I'm going to slip stitch all the way until I get to that first chain 2 gap. Then I'm going to chain 3 for my first stitch, add 2 more double crochet, and then another chain 2, and then 3 more double crochet, all into the same gap for my first corner. The corners on every single row are work the exact same. The only difference between row 3 and row 2 is that we are adding sides now. So for the sides, I'm going to chain 1 and then add 3 double crochet into that chain 1 space of row 2. Then I'm going to chain 1 again and add another corner piece to my next chain 2 gap. So every chain 1 gap is going to be a side of just 3 double crochet, and every chain 2 gap is going to be a corner of 3 double crochet, 2 chains, and 3 more double crochet. In between the sides, I'm just going to chain 1. And that's pretty much it for row 3. You can keep watching if you want to see what it looks like at the end. For rows 4, 5, 6, and so on, you are keeping the corners the exact same. You're just adding more side parts. For example, once you get to round 4, you're going to have 2 side pieces, one for each chain 1 space, and then when you get to round 5, you'll have 3, and so on and so forth, but the corners stay the same. And this is what it looks like when it's finished. Happy hooking!